Hi, everyone. My name is Roxana, and Belinda and I are a couple of the product managers on the mobile app advertising team here at Google. And today we're really excited to talk to you guys about some of the best practices for using our universal app campaigns. We're going to start with a quick overview of our universal app campaigns and then dive right into the best practices for each of the areas. We'll also leave some time at the end for questions, so please be sure to submit some questions and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. All right. So for many of us, our phones are the first thing we pick up in the morning and the last thing we put down at the end of the night. And apps play a critical role in users' experience on their phones, as we all know. This industry is booming, and Google Play is getting more installs every year. And App Annie just estimated that the revenue for apps industry is about $51 billion. So that's really incredible. But downloading an app is actually a big investment for a user. Not only the data costs and storage on their phones, but also because there's so many apps out there, the process of finding the app that they're really interested in it ends up being kind of daunting. And the user expectations are actually even higher than ever to have a really great app experience. And it's just a big business, and this is something we're really excited about. In order to sustain a business as an app, you need to find the users that are going to have the highest potential of high LTV. And that's really difficult to find. So only 17% of users are actually producing about 85% of app revenue, which is really incredible. So it's really critical to not just expand all of your installs, but to find the users that are really going to grow your business the most. And finding the right balance between that premium experience for your product and getting more customers using it can be difficult, especially when app marketing has become a really big challenge. Competition is steep, and the app shelves on app stores are becoming more full. And it's just really, we know that it's a difficult process. And this is something that is really important for us as Google to help all the app marketers with. So our vision is not just to find you more app users, like we mentioned, it's to find the most valuable app users. So I'll tell you a little bit about our product that can help you do that. So AdWords has been really invested in developing new and innovative product solutions that can help you with these marketing challenges. Universal app campaigns are the answer for you to find and just discoverability across all of our networks in one campaign and be able to optimize for all of them at the same time. We aim to take away the complexity of setting up a campaign. We know that it can take a lot of time to build creatives and set up different settings for each of the different networks. So we've really focused on how do we make that easier for you as an app advertiser. Our key way that we do that is by leveraging Google's powerful machine learning to do everything for you. All you have to do is set up sort of some basic campaign information, starting with a few lines of text for your creatives, some optional video or images, tell us your target location and language, and set up conversion tracking. And then everything else is taken care of for you across all of our networks. So you use your brain and we do the heavy lifting. So this is a quote from Saatchi Mobile, and they were just rated the best digital agency in the UK this year by Drum. And they've had incredible success using our universal app campaigns when they follow our best practices. So let's get into telling you some of these best practices. First, we're going to talk about the best practices for conversions. I'm the conversions PM, so this is something that's near and dear to my heart. So the key advantage of universal app campaigns is its ability to measure the events that you care about the most. This includes events that happen after the install. We know a lot of times you're mostly focused on how do we get the most installs, but now we're trying to move beyond that and actually know what's important to you so we can maximize those events. The great news is that AdWords has worked really hard to make that even easier than it's ever been before for you to report those in-app events to us for conversion tracking. So there's a lot of different events that can be important to you based on the type of business that you have. Different verticals have different things that they care about more. For example, app games have a concept usually of levels or finishing a tutorial or something. while e-commerce businesses usually have a concept of viewing a product page, searching for products, adding to shopping cart, travel and jobs, education. These all have sort of distinct business goals that you're trying to reach. But ultimately, you know what's best for your business. You know what the main goal of your app or multiple goals are, and you know what sort of the intermediate steps to get there are. And there's 3 different ways that you can send us conversion events. And we've tried to make it as simple as possible for you. First is by leveraging our relationship with Google Play. We can report codeless installs and in-app events to AdWords. So just by linking your Google Play account to your AdWords account, we'll automatically be able to measure all of your in-app purchases that are made through Google Play into AdWords as conversions. And of course, installs that happen in Google Play are also able to be measured codelessly. Yeah, so Firebase Analytics was launched, and this is our new SDK solution for being able to report anything that happens in your app. So you can use Firebase Analytics without using AdWords, just by seeing different things that are happening in your app and measuring different events. And by linking your Firebase Analytics account to your AdWords account, you can automatically make some of those events conversions. And Firebase has made it really easy to measure in-app purchases both from Google Play and iTunes as conversions in AdWords without making many distinct changes to the code in your app. So highly recommend that you check out Firebase Analytics. Beyond that, we also have relationships with a lot of top third-party app analytics companies, such as Tune, Coachava, AppsFlyer, AppSolar, and Adjust, and a few more. And we are really close with these companies, and we really feel that we try to make the importing of conversions from those tools as easy as possible. And lastly, if you are really advanced and you're reporting all of your conversions in your own BI system, then you can set up server-to-server conversion tracking directly with AdWords. And you can check out our Help Center for more information on that. So there's 2 important things when choosing which in-app events that you want to report to AdWords for optimization. The 2 things are variety and frequency. So you might feel that you have only one app goal, like an in-app purchase, but we really encourage you to send sort of some intermediate events for reaching that goal to AdWords, because that really helps us with our optimization. And so we actually recommend a minimum of 3 in-app events that you're reporting to AdWords. And then frequency is also important. You shouldn't be picking an event that is so rare, such as reaching a level 100 that only a couple of your users get to, because then that's not really frequent enough to make any difference for our optimization. So we recommend choosing an event that happens between between 5% and 50% of your users. We say up to 50% because if it's too many, then it's not too much different than reporting the install. And so we want to be between 5 and 50%. Secondly, it should be an event that happens about 10,000 times per day. So that doesn't mean an event that is actually reported as a conversion 10,000 times per day, but just that happens organically in your app about 10,000 times per day. And last, if you're reporting on multiple goals within your app, such as like if you're a classifieds app and you are optimizing for users that are posting classifieds and also users that are contacting posts, recommend just optimizing for one event each, because otherwise you can over-index on one or the other. So by by setting a default conversion window, you're telling us how long to wait for conversions between the click and the event that happens. So installs are always set to 30-day conversion window, but we actually recommend for in-app events to set it up to 90 days. And that's really important because we notice for app users specifically, it's different if you're used to marketing for the web, that users tend to take longer to complete their in-app event. And also we want to find those users that are converting frequently. So if there's a user who's converting, every week, then that's really important for us to understand. So we recommend setting your in-app conversion window to about 90 days. Oh, and also, if you're using a third-party attribution company, be sure that you're not pre-attributing the events that are sent to Google. A lot of times they are able to predict which events were driven by Google before they're reported to us. But by sending all the events, that really ensures the most accuracy and also the improvement of our modeling. And now over to Belinda to talk more about how we can use all this great conversion data for our machine learning.
Great, thanks, Roxy. So I'm going to go ahead and provide some tips for you to get the most success from the Universal App campaigns. And we just introduced a new bidding option not that long ago that Roxy hinted at, which is basically the ability to maximize the in-app events that happen within your app. Prior until this update, we used to just do maximizing installs, and you can still continue to do that. But we really do think that there's a lot more power as we start to understand what happens in your events to really find you the right users to install your app. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that, Roxy covered a lot of the great things on what kind of data you need to send us. And then I'm going to make sure that, you can set up your campaign in a way that makes sense so that you can optimize your campaigns properly. So first of all, we're going to start off by talking a little bit about what our conversion optimizer does and what UAC is doing behind the scenes for you. We take a lot of the key events that you send us, such as the installs or like reaching certain levels, doing a sign up, and we combine that with Google's really powerful signals. And we use our machine learning algorithms to really find patterns behind the user profile that you're looking for to determine the right moment to show your ad. So for instance, if we know that, a certain time of day works better to track the type of users that you have, or if you just have certain types of apps installed, we'll use that information combined with the information that you send us to really make sure we show users the right ad at the right time. So some examples of things of what they're doing. We obviously are showing ads to people when they're browsing other websites, right? When users are watching videos on the YouTube, and when they're searching the Play Store, all this information is important, and users are looking for different things at different times. And Google's job, right, and what our goal is to really connect people with what they're interested in the moments they're interested in, and to the apps that they're interested in. And so we really feel that we can do that with the information that you send us, along with the information that we have. It's really important to make sure we find what users do and not what they say they are, right? So just because I look a certain way or I work at Google or something doesn't mean that I have the same interest as Roxy here, right? And so we really want to target people and what they're interested in and what they're doing. And with the signals that you provide us, that is really how we combine the power of everything that we do. And that's just really key, which is why it's so important and why we're pushing so hard for you to send us all of your data so that we can really do the best that we can for you. Universal App Campaigns, right, helps you to find installs. So first and foremost, the best practice that we always encourage is that you include in your conversions column in AdWords only one install or first open. So Roxy talked a little bit about first opens and like how you can send us first opens from other third parties, or you can send us first opens yourself. And we actually automatically also create an install conversion for when the user installs the app on Android. And we've seen sometimes that people will optimize for both of them. When you optimize for both of them, we end up thinking that you have double the installs. And that just doesn't work as well for you and really hitting your CPIs, your cost per install. So in AdWords, if you go to AdWords and then there's a conversion tab, if you look, or tools and then conversions, if you look in there and just make sure that you only have one first open or one install for each app that you're optimizing for and that you're running campaigns for, that's just a best practice that we definitely encourage. It sounds really simple, and for most of you guys that are sending first opens, this is not relevant, but we've seen a lot of people try to optimize on both of them, which is why it's something that we mention and bring up. I also mentioned if you have both first opens and installs, we recommend that you choose one. And you might be asking, well, which one do I choose? You should think about what's relevant for your goals and for what you think is, kind of going to get you the best user experience. For the second best practice that I'm going to talk about, we're going to talk about making sure that you set the right budget and the right CPI, right? One of the things you need to do is that you need to make sure you provide our systems plenty of data to learn what's best for your app and for your campaign. So this is especially important for new campaigns. So with new campaigns, we don't exactly know just yet what's going to work for you. We don't know which users are going to be the types of users that are going to be interested in your app. And so we try to explore to find the right users and to find the right signals, right? And over time, we get really good at it and we get better at it. So, it may take, as much as a week for us to learn your performance. And so if you're hitting budget caps here, so if you see that like we're using up your budget all the time or something like that in that first week, you're actually not doing yourself a favor. I get that like you kind of want to start small and kind of enlarge, but we recommend that you keep your budget at least 50 times greater than your CPI. So for instance, if your CPI is $2, then that means that you should at least have a budget of 2 times 50, which is 100. So that really helps set you up for success and gets the conversion optimizer enough data and volume to really hit your target and to make sure that we find the best users for you, not just any old user. We encourage you to keep that up for about 2 weeks. So just to make sure that you're really finding the right value user. So for the third best practice, I'll just say that, for users who are now transitioning from our in-app or maximization of installs strategy into maximizing in-app events, that you should bid 20% higher for the in-app TCPI. So the interesting thing about how UAC works is we actually are still bidding on installs. We're basically making sure that we're just finding you installs that are more likely to be users that will complete a certain action. So for instance, if you were sending us the in-app event of completing level 5, our goal is to find you more users that are going to complete level 5. So our recommendation then is to set your TCPI a little bit higher because these are more valuable users that are more likely to actually complete the action. If you are running both a max install campaign and a max in-app event campaign, and you don't set it your max in-app event campaign TCPI 20% higher, then you're basically going to cannibalize and the two campaigns will basically be getting very similar users. So to really get that volume, we encourage you to bid a little bit higher. The fourth best practice that I'll mention is, you don't want to make too many big changes at once. So in general, we recommend that you don't touch your bids or budgets in the first 3 to 5 days while the campaign is running, or until you've reached about 100 campaigns, 100 conversions, not 100 campaigns. Please don't create 100 campaigns. And if you do want to change it afterwards, that's fine. But you do want to make sure things stabilize out. And so we don't recommend that you make these big changes more than 3 to 5 days. We know that sometimes you get a little antsy. So just kind of, start with one number and just slowly inch your way up if you're trying to kind of increase your CPIs a little bit more or down if that's what you choose to do. This basically just helps things stabilize out and so that you don't teach our system, like our system doesn't learn the wrong things or things that maybe you don't want it to learn. Cool. So now I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about creatives. So these are all the great assets that you provide us, such as the text and the images and the video. For those of you who are familiar with Universal App Campaigns, you know that in the past we've taken 4 lines of text for Universal App Campaigns. But it's important to note that while we only require the 4 lines of text, Universal App Campaigns is so much more than that. We actually offer now the ability to add up to 5 videos to your campaign. And adding a video allows you to really serve the video app install ads across all of the different networks, including the YouTube network and as well as video sites on AdMob. This actually allows you to reach over 900 million unique devices through the AdMob video network and 1 billion unique users on YouTube. And this is just a great opportunity to really expand your campaign's reach with a really rich and engaging ad format. So in addition to the creatives that you provide, AdWords can also really help generate impactful ads for you. Just like we try to help find the right users for you, we also try to make sure that we're creating the right formats for you. So if you don't have a video, one of the things that we can do is we can actually automatically generate a high quality video for you using the content from your app stores page, both on iOS and on Android. And this is really useful. You know, we do understand that video isn't always the easiest thing to kind of create. And so this just helps you get started. And it's something that you can use to really reach the 900 million sites that I talked about, along with the 1 billion unique users on YouTube. We also have been running playable demos of your Android games. So it's something called Trial Run, and that runs both on the display side along with the search network. And it's just a way for users to try out your game and to really make sure we're finding you qualified users that are likely to continue and engaging with your game. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of the specific best practices now so that you can really get the most out of your UAC campaign. Creatives are one of the biggest drivers of performance, right? So it's really important to invest effort here. The two kind of areas that we really want you to invest efforts in are basically analyzing which events are important to you, and then the creatives. So the biggest tip that we can share is to really take advantage of all the creative diversity that UAC has to offer. So make sure you're writing all 4 lines of text and trying to do different types of text and different types of creative language there. Use all 5 videos if you can, right? And upload all 10 image slots, right? This is something new that we just launched recently in the update. And we certainly encourage you to add as many images as you can to sort of with different sizes to really just optimize the reach that we can provide for you. This really helps you like make sure you're showing the right audience your message and show your ads in just as many places as we can. So we have a bunch of general creative best practices, and we'll see if we can sort of link some of them somewhere. I'll highlight a few of the important ones, and hopefully that when you guys go back and take a look at it somewhere, you'll be able to kind of follow along. So first of all, you want to make sure that you know, in your creative text that you really have a call to action. Make it something that people want to like read about, or they want to get engaged more, right? So like something like play now, right, for games, or like save 20% off, right, for retail, to kind of get people interested, so that they'll kind of like engage more and click through to read more about your app, right? You kind of want to lure them in a little bit. You'll also want to highlight your app's unique positioning, right? So one of the things you can do is you can take a look at your app store description text and see if there's any cool creative things that, you know, some other people on your team have already, or you yourself, right, have already called out within your app. How does your app differ from other apps, right? Why is your app that much better? And see if you can try to express that. The other thing that we recommend is that you, when uploading images, that you're using at least 1 landscape image. That really will help us kind of reach your ad in all the placements. Landscape is a really key one that will really help you get a lot of reach. And just for reference, landscape is about 1200 by 628. You know, in general, a couple of the other sizes that we recommend would be like 320 by 80, right? 320 by 50, and things like that. So we'll see if we can try to include a list for you guys. The other thing too is just like, you know, make sure to upload high quality images. You know, no one wants to look at pixelated images anymore these days, unless that's the intent of your image. So make sure to really find the high quality images and really high quality video too. So I'm also going to talk a little bit about some of the video best practices, right? So I just talked a little bit about some of the just text and image stuff. For videos, it's important to really make sure you use all 5 slots, right? So what you can do is, even if you have the same image or the same video, you can try different lengths. So you can try like a 6-second video, like a really short video to kind of just pique their attention. You can try longer lengths, like 15 seconds or 30 seconds. Longer videos give you more time to get your message across. But shorter videos can be a better user experience because they're short and then they get to the real content. And they can also be cheaper to produce. So that's another thing to think about too. If you want to just start with something short, it's okay if it's only 6 seconds. Like, you don't have to feel like that it has to be a full 30-second video. The other thing too is you can try some creative strategies to see kind of what resonates, right? Some people really like humor. Some people like want to see some action, right? And some people want to see how the game is played out. So you can try a couple of different ways of doing that if you have kind of more time to do so. And you can actually put in all those different types of videos, and we'll try to find the best one that'll bring you the most installs. The other thing too is portrait format has become more popular now, and so it's important to also test out that format to see to really make sure your video can be optimized for all the different placements that we have. And keep in mind that custom videos just do work better. So while I did talk earlier about how we can generate videos for you, no one knows your app better than you do, and no one knows how to really speak to your audience as well as you do. So while we do have the ability to make one, it's certainly good to also try to make your own if you have the ability to do so. Yeah, so that's basically it on the creative side. Just really want to make sure that you're using the diversity that we offer, that you really think about using all the slots possible, and really think about call to actions and things that users will really want to resonate with. Great. So I think that's it for our kind of prepared material, and we're going to jump over to the live questions. If you have any live questions, feel free to pop them in the Hangout, and we'll see them on our computer over here. Okay, so the first one is from Jan, and they ask, hey, one question. When I set a campaign worldwide, will AdWords make sure to serve the ads in countries only where my app is available for download, or do I need to set the specific countries myself? So that's a really great question. We actually do this automatically for you. So if you want to set your campaign to worldwide, we only serve ads in the countries where people can actually download your app. And so you don't need to worry about picking out the small subset of countries that your app runs in, or trying to select them all. We do that automatically for you behind the scenes. And if you update your app such that all of a sudden another country now is able to get your app, we will also detect that on our side and serve it more to those users. So hopefully that answers your question a little bit.
So the second question is from Ben Adams, and he says, can you touch on all the Google user signals that the machine learning algorithm uses, and whether Google's recent policy change to move beyond cookies to logged in user data has improved it?
Sure. We do think about a lot of different things. I mentioned some of them, right? Like the time of day, the type of device the user is on, and things like that. And really right now we're still exploring sort of how we can use these signals best for app install yet. And at this point, we're still kind of focused on making sure we can find you the best installs at this point. The changes recently on the policy side are still very new. So, we don't really have much to say on that just yet, but we're working towards just better solutions to make sure we can find you the right users for your app.
The next one's from Amit Kumar. What if we create both types of campaigns, display in-app installs and UAC? Will they conflict with each other? So no, they won't conflict with each other. None of the campaigns, if they're in the same account or in linked accounts, will bid against each other or do anything like that. We'll do our best to make sure that the user is seeing the right ad at the right time.
Yeah, and one of the benefits I'll just add if you're running both display and UAC is that UAC reaches other areas beyond just display. So in that sense, you might expect them to see because you have the display network campaign also, that maybe you'll see different performance than if you were to run just UAC. But we definitely encourage you to run UAC because that will help you reach all of the Google properties, as opposed to the display side where you're only reaching the display network.
Elise Schaefer says, what if your app doesn't have a purchase event? Say, for example, a banking app. Will Google Play be able to understand that an event firing doesn't necessarily mean money spent? So the events that we're able to measure through Google Play are the in-app purchase events. So those are events where users are actually making a purchase using their Google Play login. So those events must be purchases. But if you have other events that your app cares about, you can use an SDK, to report those events to us directly. So if you're a banking app and you care about users signing up for a new account, you can use the Firebase Analytics SDK or another SDK or server measurement to send that event to Google every time it happens, and you can report that as a conversion.
Great. Okay. So we have another question from from a user, the non-FK. And in one account, we are running different UAC campaigns for different countries with the same conversion. While using Conversion Optimizer, if most of the conversions from X country, should we expect good results for Y country? So I think what this is asking is if you pick an event like level 5, let's say, and all the level 5 events are coming from the US, should you also expect good results then from like Canada?
I think so. If most conversions are from X country, we get results for Y country.
So I think it's important to look at it at a campaign by campaign level. So if the different users in different countries might react differently, and you might actually have a different event that you should look for. But as long as you're following the general best practices that we highlighted earlier, so an event that happens at least 5% of the time, and organically happens about 10,000 times, I think you should be okay. And that's basically the goal, more at the campaign level.
Anonymous asks, hey, we now have many events to optimize towards, app installs, different in-app events. Is there a way to A/B test those features to know which one is the most performant for our business? So you could create different campaigns that optimize for different in-app events that you care about. And then you can sort of see how that generally influences your business overall. But ultimately, the best practices that we mentioned, being able to add about 3 events and then optimize for 1 event per goal is really the best thing you're going to want to do. So if there is an ultimate goal that you're trying to reach, and it happens frequently enough, then I would start with that. But if you feel like you want to optimize more on sort of an intermediate goal and you're not sure which one to pick, it's definitely doable to create different campaigns that optimize for each and see the performance.
Yeah, and I think that sort of ties actually into the next question from Heart of Vegas, which is, what is our recommendation for running multiple UAC campaigns with the same targeting? Should you run one UAC campaign with event optimization and one without? I think it's totally fair to run one that focuses on max installs and one that focuses on max in-app events. Like I said earlier, the one thing to keep in mind is just to make sure that you're bidding according to the value of the user and how much you value that event, right? And the user that would actually perform that event, right? Because we're basically looking at installs. So if you are going to run max events, right, and max in-app events and max installs, we recommend that your CPI for your max in-app events be 20% higher. So same with if you are going to run kind of different things, make sure you're setting your CPI at what makes sense for kind of that user and the event that you're trying to get them to perform.
Great. How can you exclude tablets in UAC?
So one of the things that we really want to make sure in UAC is to make sure that we're helping you find the right users. And so that user might actually be on a tablet or on a mobile device, right? And we just want to kind of make sure that we're seeking out the right users for you and really likely to complete certain events. So if, for example, tablet users aren't valuable to you, right, for whatever reason, most likely they're not completing a certain event, right? Or they're not doing the action that you want them to do. And so if you are, so we'd encourage you to take a look at your events and really ask yourself, what is it about these users, right, that makes them not valuable? Is it because they're not, reaching a certain level? Is it because they're not signing up? Is it because they're not making a purchase? And I would try to create a campaign then that optimizes for the events that you care about, as opposed to trying to think about your users about what kind of device they're on or what kind of, or what country they're in, or, what kind of gender they are, or whatever it might be. The goal is to really find your users. Like I said earlier, users can kind of come in all different shapes and colors and sizes, right? And we just want to make sure we find you ones that are likely to complete certain events and valuable to you.
And just to put your mind at ease, we won't target users on tablets if your app isn't compatible with tablets.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good point.
So if that's what you're worried about, don't worry, we'll take care of that. Okay, so Amit asks, how do we control bid spends on search and display? So the whole point of Universal App campaigns is to just maximize your in-app events and your installs across all of our networks. So we take care of deciding where your most valuable users are on search, display, and YouTube. So if we discover that it's more valuable for you to be spending more on display because that's where most of your valuable users are, then that's what the machine optimizer will do.
Yep. Yeah. We have a question on what is the fastest way to implement UAC for 50 plus accounts? Wow, that's a lot of accounts. We are bringing in support to AdWords Editor, so that will really help with the bulk editing, along with AdWords API as well. So those are both ways that you could actually then implement UAC a lot faster. We actually designed UAC to be relatively simple, but 50 accounts is certainly a lot of accounts. So keep up the good work.
And I would highly recommend for your conversion tracking to set up an MCC account or managed account on top of all those 50 accounts, and then just use MCC controlled conversion tracking. So that way you don't have to individually set up conversion tracking for each of those 50 accounts.
Cool. So Chris mentions, or Chris says, I think it was mentioned that we can codelessly send some events from Google Play over to AdWords, and does that include in-app purchase events? So
yes. So as long as you link your Google Play account to your AdWords account, we will automatically be able to measure all of the in-app purchase events as conversions. So if you just go into your account settings and you'll see linked accounts, and you can link your Google Play account, or from the conversions tab, if you go to create an in-app event, it will prompt you there to link your Google Play account. And I really encourage that. It's a very simple way to be able to start measuring in-app events if in-app purchases are something that you support in your app.
So Alejandro asks, is there a way to optimize the target CPA for installs? I'm currently generating 3,500 installs a week. So our target CPA actually is really target CPI, right? So we're optimizing for installs already. So when you set a CPI of $2, what that means is you're looking for we're going to try to hit a target install of $2, right? So that's really the main thing about how our product works. And so we're excited for you to try it out and see how it works for you.
Lisa is asking, what about being able to upload 10 images? Where are those images running, and is there an optimal number?
Yeah, so these images run across our AdMob network and our MGDN network. And we're looking to see if we can bring them into more places. So it doesn't just limit you to any certain networks, but right now that's kind of where they are. And for an optimal number, we really just encourage you to upload as many as you can in all the different sizes, starting with the landscape, a couple of banners, and some of the typical sort of sizes that you normally have been generating for some of your other campaigns. So that's kind of what we encourage. There's not really an optimal number as much as just fill up and make sure you get as much diversity as possible. Cool.
Great. I think that's all the questions that we have.
Yeah, and so if you guys are watching this over like the recording later, feel free to throw some questions down there, and we'll try to get back to you as much as we can. Just know that we'll just do our best that we can. And if you have any questions that come up later, feel free to comment in, and we'll get back to you. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you.